Now, while the results will be made official tomorrow with the ranked choice tally, Democrats and Republicans alike have been analyzing how Zohran Mamdani made it to the top and what it means looking ahead to the midterms. To break this all down, we can bring in Kethevane Gorjestani, who was our former Washington correspondent. Kethevane, what were the keys to this 33-year-old's victory, and are Democrats trying to learn from what he did?
Well, look, they're definitely looking at this surprise victory and trying to get some good points or something to look forward to. The first thing that he succeeded in was his campaign game. He had a very savvy mix of using social media at its best, and he's 33-year-old, and he clearly knows how to use social media, but also a very traditional, good ground game of thousands of volunteers knocking on doors like the old days of campaigning, as well as using non-traditional media like podcasts to communicate his message, not just to the people he knew he was going to convince, but also going on very conservative podcasts to talk to people that may not agree with him. And so he went very quickly from relatively unknown to the sensation in New York politics, and he brought with him, thanks to the social media game, if you will, a lot of young voters who were a little bit disenchanted with politics, and usually not the people who actually turn out to vote in these primaries, because this was a primary. Then, if you talk about the demographics, he brought together a new coalition. I talked about the young voters, but he didn't only focus on the sort of young, white, educated, very progressive liberals of New York. He also managed to bring together South Asians, Muslims, Latinos, by sort of leaning into his immigrant background. He was born in Uganda of parents of Indian descent and naturalized just about 7 years ago. And so he spoke to those immigrant communities in New York. He also focused his messaging on basically one point, which is a progressive, populist economic message, focusing on New York's affordability crisis, talking about making things like transport free, freezing rent control apartments, and funding all of that with tax hikes on the super rich in New York. He was basically unapologetically a socialist Democrat. His opponent, Cuomo, tried to hammer him on some of the comments he made about the war in Gaza and the criticism about Israel. And what Mamdani did was hit back and defend his positions, but he also stayed away from making that the center of his campaign, focusing again and again on the economy. And he rarely spoke about identity politics. His campaign was really a one-message campaign: economy, economy, economy.
Which is what voters actually want to listen to, apparently. Now, is there a reason that Democrats are scared to embrace Mamdani? Traditional Democrats.
Well, look, first of all, you have to think about the fact that this is New York. Usually the winner of the Democratic primary in New York is a shoo-in for the final win. It might not be the case this time because Cuomo and Adams, who is the current mayor, they're staying in the race, so we don't know where this is actually going to go. The Democratic primary is also not the whole of New York. There was only a 30% turnout among registered Democrats. We'll see what that means for the broader electorate in New York. Then when I was speaking about the coalition and all the people he brought together, there were two key demographic groups that he did not win, where Cuomo did very well: Black Americans as well as the low-income voters. These are two key demographics that Democrats across the United States actually need in order to win. And what works in ultra-liberal New York might not work as well in a swing district or in a swing states. So these are some lessons to be learned, but New York is a very special beast, if you will. The second thing that some people are focusing on is the question of what would have happened if Mamdani had run against a sort of a normal Democrat, because Cuomo, yes, is a dynasty Democrat. He was the governor of New York, but he was also pushed out of office for a sexual harassment accusation. And so maybe if they had had a sort of centrist non-flawed character on the other side, maybe Mamdani would have had a tougher time running against somebody like that.
We'll see if the Democratic Party does rally around him or not, or if they put another candidate out of a hat. We'll see. Thank you very much for that, Kethevane Gorjestani there.